the more and more I keep practicing, the more I understand that trauma is rooted in a lack of control. And that's why people feel like they can overcome their trauma when they engage in activities that gives them control. So for example, it could be, that's why martial arts or things like shooting or going or just rough and tumble play gives a person that stress, but it's a bounded stress. It's boundaries, and you work within your area of competence there. And it's actually a really interesting one because it builds the prefrontal fibers within the brain that allows for regulation, self-regulation, growth, future thinking, the ability to connect with other people, the ability to understand what's happening within our bodies, and then to apply that into what we're going to do within our actions. It's a bloody intricate process, but it rests upon control. And when we feel we've lost control, how many of us say, I'm bloody out of control, my emotions are just out of control right now? And then we do something, whether it's writing. And for me, it was writing. When I was a kid, I would write all the time, and that's just continued to stay on. And so I can identify with Melancholy Dolly, where I have another memory of writing a particular story when I was in primary school. And then my brother comes into the room, and my oldest brother, which I didn't really talk too much at that time. He kind of kept to himself, and he would read a lot and that sort of stuff. He said, "Why do you write these pointless stories? They're never going to get you anywhere." And that just stood with me for the longest time until I changed that. And I'm like, actually, I enjoy writing. I'm not writing to get anywhere. And if it gets anywhere, it would happen through an evolving process. But that's a bit of we've taken an aside there, but I just wanted to circle back to what you just said, that silver lining, that ability to control, and how that related to you in lockdowns. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I do jiu-jitsu, but I don't think until now I've sort of realized why I love it so much, until, it's a control thing. It's exhilarating. I just went there for a free session, and I just always wanted to test it out. I listened to so much Joe Rogan that I thought, right, I'm going to this jiu-jitsu because he never shuts up about it. And the first session, the trainer pulls you aside if you're new and teaches you how to get out of a wrist lock. And once you can do it, you sort of think, oh, I want to know what else I can do. And then you pair up with someone, and everyone is so supportive and they want you to get better. And, then someone attacks you, then you're the attacker, and you walk out of there and you think, what have I just done for an hour? This was the coolest, most bizarre thing in the world. And then, you want to get your first belt and your second belt, and you can see it progressing. And there's just so much to learn. You'll just never stop learning. But I think what happens is when you're there, you have to be so focused on your technique and making sure you don't get choked out and tapping someone to say, I'm passing out here. But you can't focus on your own problems, or you can't focus on what's going on in the world, because you're right in that moment. And I think it's like a bit of a mental break from everything else. So I've read articles saying it's sort of like yoga for the mind. It's a stress release. It's fun. And I think you actually do that, and then you realize you need to do yoga because you realize how inflexible you are. So then you probably get another addiction and start doing yoga or something. But I almost can't explain why I love it, but I wish I'd started it as a kid. And if I'm lucky enough to have children, I would definitely put them in martial arts. It's something that I would recommend, especially if you don't have self-confidence, or if it's something you think you could never do and it just doesn't sound like you at all, you're the perfect person to do jiu-jitsu.